And yet, think of all the times we have been fooled by the Separatists.
I know Palpatine's corrupt, and that's the whole point. But what kind of kangaroo court is this? Why isn't Padme objecting? What is going on here?
That's not how the law works.
So let's talk about how the law works, and why Ahsoka Tano's trial was a travesty of justice.
I will make it legal.
So Ahsoka Tano has been charged with sedition. What is sedition? So the Galactic Republic seems to have a very broad definition of what sedition is. And they also use sedition and treason interchangeably in universe, which in real life, they are different. Sedition is a lesser charge than treason, but that's a different video. So using other canon media as well as other episodes of the Clone Wars, what we can surmise based on the situation of Proset Dibs, who later became the 10th brother, Sergeant Slick, the clone who betrayed the Republic, as well as various other characters. Sedition in the Galactic Republic seems to be any criminal action made against the government. Then this can include the Jedi Order. So let's get into the case. So the prosecution's facts would go as follows. There was a bombing at the Jedi Temple that killed clones, Jedi, and citizens of the Republic. Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano were called in off-world to investigate. During their investigation, it led them to Letta Termund, who they capture. Ahsoka then goes to see Letta Termund, where she force chokes her, supposedly, and she dies while in custody. And then Ahsoka, being accused of the murder, goes on the run, is seen with Asajj Ventress, who is known as a separatist terrorist, and is then captured in a warehouse that had the nano explosives responsible for the explosion. The stage is set. We are at the day of trial. We know the players. Sheev Palpatine is the judge. Wilhuff Tarkin is the prosecutor. Padme Amidala Naberi is the defense attorney. Ahsoka is the defendant. And the jurors that we see are Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, Senator Chuchi, and a couple others whose name I don't know. We don't generally have the elements of criminal activity in the Galactic Republic or the Star Wars universe itself, so I will use the common law. And in the common law, there are two parts, actus reus and mens rea. Actus reus is the physical act of the crime, and mens rea is the mental aspect of the crime. Presumably, given the episode, it seems like this trial takes place over the course of a day, which seems kind of fast for a sedition trial, let alone a murder trial. But it kind of goes off the rails for me really quickly. So Tarkin gives his opening statement, and then it cuts away, and then we come back, and I'm not sure whether this is Padme's closing statement, this is her opportunity to bring the defendant's case, because Tarkin cuts in, Ahsoka speaks up, and she's not on the stand, and then Tarkin is able to question her. I'm really confused as to what the structure of this trial is, because where is the presentation of evidence? Because to me, this just seems to be a bunch of statements and arguments by the lawyers, which in our criminal and civil courts, the statements of the attorneys are not evidence. The judge says that to the jury at the beginning and at the end of the case before they deliberate. The evidence that the prosecution has, based on what we have been shown, is that Ahsoka was present at the death of Letta, and they believe she killed her, and that she was on the run and seen with Ventress. And the only person that really brings that up is Palpatine, and I'll get to that later. Now, I know that this is a kid's show, and I know that they had 20-something minutes to do this, as well as everything else that is happening in this episode, as well as showing how corrupt the Republic is and how stacked this is against Ahsoka. But they really have to lean in hard to the corruption angle because the evidence isn't really there. Based on the circumstances, all the evidence that the prosecution has is circumstantial. they don't have anything that is directly tying Ahsoka to their evidence. Let's look at the video of Ahsoka supposedly killing Letta. The video obviously demonstrates that Letta's in the air, Ahsoka's hands are up, and she turns back around, and then it cuts off. And you could obviously see how someone could infer that Ahsoka did it, but it's also reasonably plausible that she doesn't based on how she looks. And this is where I feel like the prosecution's case has a big hole in it. Based on the earlier happenings in this episode, it seems pretty clear that Tarkin wants the Jedi to have nothing to do with this trial. But I don't understand why Padme adheres to that rule. If I were the defense attorney, I would call in a Jedi, probably Yoda, who's the most respected Jedi, to testify about the Force. And you would just walk the jury through it. You would ask Yoda, what is the Force? How is the Force used? Can anyone use the Force? Are there other people besides Jedi that can use the Force? Do you have to be in the same physical space to use the Force on someone or something? Is it possible that someone else used the Force to choke Letta while Ahsoka was in the room? Have you ever met Asajj Ventress? Is she able to use the Force? Is she able to use the dark side of the Force? Does she have the power to be able to do something like this? Is this based on your personal experience? And then you bring up one of the clones, whether it's Wolf or Fox, who were there and saw Ahsoka with Ventress, and you could have them say, yep, Ventress was on planet, so yeah, she could have done it. That is a plausible explanation that could be used in Ahsoka's defense. But we don't ever really see that. The only one we really see working on Ahsoka's defense is Anakin. And I know Padme can do a better job than what we're being shown here. Now, when it comes to the nano explosives, this is another thing we all kind of have to take a leap in the imagination for. So now I can use this as an opportunity to talk about what they don't have. Physical evidence. We haven't been shown or told in this show or other external media that there were fingerprints or DNA evidence. And this is a galaxy far, far away. So they have the tools to demonstrate that, right? Also, going back to the video recording, is there any proof or evidence that Ahsoka tampered with the security system to cut off footage and delete all audio? We're never told that. We're just told that it was done, and we are shown that that happened. We also don't see or have been told about any expert witnesses that could demonstrate how one would do this on either side of the case, whether it's a prosecution's witness or a defense witness, to say, these are the skills required to do this. Does Ahsoka have those skills? Could it have been someone else? We're not shown or told that. And so far, we've only talked about the holes in the physical aspect of the crime. We haven't even talked about the mental aspect of the crime because the show doesn't really. The prosecution doesn't bring it up. The defense doesn't bring it up. So what was Ahsoka's motive for this crime? Tarkin brings up that Ahsoka was seen with Asajj, that she was a separatist terrorist, but was it not known by Senate intelligence or Republic intelligence that Asajj had fallen out with the CIS by this time? That had happened a while back. And I know you can say, well, that's just bringing in outside knowledge of the universe that they may not have known at the time, but the Jedi would have definitely known. And unless the Jedi were withholding that from the Senate should know that. And at the very least, Ahsoka would know that, and Ahsoka would have told Padme, whether or not Padme would have known from being in the Senate anyway, because Ahsoka's out of the Jedi Order at this point. Go for broke. Tell everything you can to get yourself free. And then we have the suave, sophisticated Sheev Palpatine coming in with the closing argument for the prosecution. Homeboy's supposed to be the judge. The judges are the referees in a jury trial. They're the gatekeepers of the evidence. They're not supposed to be delivering arguments about guilt or innocence, but that's what Sheev is doing here. He's definitely putting his finger on the scale, and he brings up that this may be a separatist plot, which is, definitely stoking up the political flames in the war that they're in, which makes me kind of surprised that they didn't do what I see as an easy fix to some of these evidentiary failings. In my mind, if you take Barris's speech and shorten it and put some of that either in Ahsoka's journal or in some recording, that at least connects some of the dots for me to plausibly believe a jury would convict Ahsoka of this crime. Given what kind of big deal this would be to the Republic and the Jedi, I'm really surprised that it's this shoddy of a prosecution, or at least this is just a really poor representation of quote-unquote Republic justice. It's a wonder that anybody gets actually convicted of anything at all, let alone why Newt Gunray. I mean, this is a perfect reason as to why Newt Gunray kept getting out again and again and again for all his different crimes. That being said, removing what you know about this show, this universe, take that lore out of your head and just look at these episodes. Do you think that Tarkin as a prosecutor successfully proved his case? Did he prove that there was an actus reus and a mens rea on Ahsoka's behalf, that she committed this crime? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you want to see more Star Wars legal analysis videos, like what characters could have committed treason in the Star Wars universe throughout the events of Order 66. The answers may surprise you.